All right, hello, Paradigm Shifters. Welcome to October 26th, 2021. And this whole month, we've been having these topics and speakers on abundance, going from like that lax to abundance. And I'm so happy and grateful for every single one of you, knowing that we are a community, a global community of shifters and uplifters. Yeah.
Love
And
it.
yeah, and it's my pleasure to have on as our guest speaker today, Erika Fay from Chicago. And Erika is one of the best mamas I know. You have quite a story there, I know. But also,
Mhm.
you're a performance coach, you're maximum achievement coaching.com and all of that business, and a licensed marriage and family therapist. And I'm so grateful to turn this over to you and have you talk about a little bit of like experience, some strength and hope for the people here and what we may be possibly going through. Yeah.
Mhm.
There you go, Erica. It's all yours.
Well, thanks, Judy. And, as I was kind of thinking about this topic of abundance, and I was thinking about my journey as a mom, and it's very gracious of you to say that I'm one of the best you know. I do not feel like that is the case. I feel like I'm learning every single day. And wanting to kind of make sure that I'm being the type of person, not only for my business, not only for my son, not only for my partner, but also for myself, that I can be. But when I started to think about abundance, I just kind of went back to the beginning of when I first gave birth to Liam, and I had this, like, he was a dream builder baby. Like, I was practicing all of the dream builder principles in order for him to come into existence. He was a dream that I had for years. And as you know, I didn't give birth until I was 46. And we were assisted by divine intervention because we didn't do any fertility or anything. We got pregnant on our own at 40. I was 45. And so this is something I had dreamed of, that I had wanted so much. And then it was so interesting because when he was here, I had this abundant, like I had wanted this. I had no idea how to manifest it for the longest time. And the desires of my heart were so strong. And I remember just, using those images that we've all worked with, me holding a baby or rocking the baby, and then me feeling my belly and can feel like the pregnant belly, and all of those were my main two scaffolding images. But then when he was here, he wasn't one of those babies that was a really good sleeper. And so for probably the first 3 months, my intention around my maternity leave for my business was, to put all these newsletters out and to do all of these things to nurture my business when I was on maternity leave. And I will tell you that none of that happened. And so I found myself, because before Liam, I had gotten into a really nice groove of like calibrating my energy and my morning practice and all of the things that were really a lot easier for me to put into place because I was the only one that I really had to think about. And then when he came along, I had to revamp everything. And so energetically for me, that felt like really untethered. And I also was like, I can't like go down this train of, I can't believe this because this is something that I've always wanted. So like, I felt like this pull between like my dream is actually realized, and I have no idea how I'm going to make it through the next 4 hours because I'm so tired, which I know that new mamas can relate to. Yeah. So, but then one of the things that really helped, that, and this was something that I was starting to practice the breathing and the visualizing and tuning into my vision as I was nursing him. So sometimes it would be the middle of the night, or sometimes it would be early in the morning. Because it was trying to like make the practice that I had before fit what I was doing now. And I just realized that wasn't happening. So I was trying to revamp it. But then I'm looping it back to abundance here because I was talking to one of my mastermind partners, and he said sometimes at first abundance can appear kind of messy. And I was like, I love that because that is exactly what my life feels like right now. Complete and utter mess. um, so, just kind of wanting to kind of throw that out there because I have that was such a useful thing for me to remember. Obviously it's important, to tune into the feeling tone of the vision. And I'm so grateful for Liam. I had no idea how much love I could have for him, in my visualization and in my dream building of him. But it's beyond, it's out of this world. And at the same time, with every new phase, I'm shifting and I'm readjusting and and as an athlete, I really like routine and schedule. And so this was something that was definitely a growing edge for me, for sure.
Oh, I love it. I think like new mamas are the top athletes of the world.
For sure. For sure. For sure.
That is so cool. So you were talking about feeling untethered.
Hmm.
I love that word. I love it. So tell us about that. Go into, if you could, about that untethered feeling and what tools maybe you use to get boom, to get centered,
Hmm.
or yeah, just anything you can come up with, and just
Yeah.
and also
Well,
the fact that it's during COVID.
yeah.
It's just another condition thrown on, you know.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Mm, yeah. I mean, one of the things that I think is so easy for us to overlook or for me to overlook is the breath. I mean, just that was one thing that I had to keep reminding myself of because I could feel myself being like, oh my gosh, like if it was 3 in the morning or whatever, and I heard him crying, I would automatically get that jolt of like anxiety or energy or whatever, like, go get him. And just remembering to just breathe and like as we know, in through the mouth or in through the nose, out through the mouth, and just really being mindful about calming the nervous system. That was something that really helped. And then also when I made the decision early on that when I was nursing him, I was going to use that time to really be mindful and to really just be present with him. And, if I found myself like my mind wandering, I would direct it to the vision versus like what I was going to do next or something like that. And I found that really helped in just generating gratitude and like feeling him on my body and like his little hand reaching up and just know and just reminding myself this is something that's not going to last, and just be present. And so I mean was all a practice. It wasn't just like, oh, okay, good, we're good. So I just like want to be really clear about that because it was constant me just checking, like noticing if I was starting to get like anxious or and then regrouping, coming back to the breath, coming back to the present moment, being with him. And I also gave myself permission because I wasn't sure, because for the first whatever it was 4 months, I was the primary food source. So I wasn't sure how long that was going to last and if we were going to do something differently. So just making sure that I was just where I was when I was like, and that's something that I think I have to continue to practice in the being in the now, and not anticipating what's coming next or not, um, you know, lamenting what has passed already. And so just that breath and the grounding of the present moment was something that really, I think, helped to kind of bring me back and help me to feel more centered. And then the other thing that I'll say about that too is that connection with like the higher power. And I refer to the higher power as God, but just being grateful and like mindful that, I wasn't doing this alone, even though sometimes it felt like, I wish God could just get up with the baby because I need a break. And John, but my partner, was helpful too. He would get up with him in the middle of the night. We would switch off and things. But yeah, I would just say, like, the main thing is kind of the breath, reminding myself that I'm not alone, and being in the now, and then visiting the vision of who I want to be. And part of that was being really present, because I know that the moments are fleeting, and the vision for my business, and how I was going to engage with that going forward. I made the decision to only work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And at first, I was kind of wondering, is that going to be enough, and that kind of thing. And then, the more and more I stay in the study with this, it's like making a decision, and then just deciding, yes, it's going to be enough. And then, like, giving myself permission to grow my business even in those 3 days, so that I can be with Liam on Mondays and Fridays, knowing that, in a year, maybe 2 years, we don't know which yet, we're not quite sure what school he's going to go to, but he's going to be in school. So I'm missing out on that time if I'm not here with him now. So all of that is a long answer to your question, but I would say, going back to your original question, it's the breath, the present moment, and connection with God and the vision.
Oh no, I love it. And I'm just imagining that you work with athletes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm imagining you can have this same conversation with the athletes, right?
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I always think it's just so incredible how life imitates sport. And this was something that I was actually speaking to last week, because I was speaking on 2 different athlete summits. And one of the things that came up was, we were talking about mental health and like mindfulness as an entrepreneur and as an athlete. And I just remember when I was training for my first Ironman, I heard something that was so perfect, because it's exactly how life works. And what they were saying is, this was a person who had already done an Ironman, so he was experienced. And he said, one thing to know when you're going through the race, because the Ironman is a long race. It's a 2.4-mile swim, 112-mile bike, and then a 26.2-mile run at the end. And so it takes all day. And so he was saying, one thing to be mindful of is, regardless of how you're feeling, know it's not going to last. So if you start off feeling good, don't anticipate that you're going to feel good for the remainder of the day. But if you hit a rough patch, know that that's not going to last either. And that just was so powerful to me for the race itself. But then I was thinking about it after I was done with the race, and I was like, that's like the perfect, like, way to live your life. It's just like, no, it's not going to last. And so don't get too attached, and like base how you're going to be about how you're feeling things are going at the moment. So I thought that was a really useful piece of advice.
Oh my gosh, I forgot. People who watch this, like, they're going, okay, you just talked about being a mom of a now 2-year-old, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And now you're saying training for your first Ironman. Whoa!
Well, that was in 2007, in full disclosure. I did it in 2007 and 2011, pre-children. So
Well, can't you just see how everything that you've ever done in your life leads you right up into parenthood?
totally. Yes. And it's so interesting too. This might be a little bit too much information, but so I'm a marathon runner, and most of my marathons that I run are around the 4-hour mark. And interestingly enough, I had to push Liam for 4.5 hours.
Yeah. Oh, your labor was 4.5 hours. So, oh, that is so funny.
just pushing was 4.5 hours, because the nurse was like, well, wait a second, you're an endurance athlete, aren't you? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, do you run marathons? And I said, yeah. And she's like, how long do you normally run them? I'm like, yeah, they are around 4 hours. And then that's exactly how long I was pushing with Liam. So I'm like, I know what my endurance is. And it's interesting how that set that up for me, because I was getting to the point where I was about to tap out. and they were going to go in and get him another way. And I'm like, not doing it. 4.5, I've got 4.5 hours of endurance in me, and I'm going to keep on pushing.
I just love it. And I know moms, or they would really, really want to be moms who are in that 40-year-old, 40 to
Mm.
50-year-olds, and they're saying, well, and I'm like, wow, look at all that you've done in your life. And so,
Yes.
wow, that's such an inspiration to hear you talk
Oh,
like that. Yeah.
thanks.
And
Yeah. And I mean, I know
what,
it can be, oh, go ahead.
no, no, go ahead, talk.
No, I think for the people who are in their 40s, I know how seductive it could be to get into the fear trap and the, oh, this isn't going to happen for me. And I mean, when I was on a trip with my girlfriends, it was our 45th year trip because we've been friends since high school. And one of my friends asked me when we were celebrating our 45th birthdays together, and she asked, she was like, well, do you still think that you want to have a baby? And I said, yeah. And they were like, well, how's that going to work? And I was just like, me and God have it figured out. And when I said that, I didn't even realize that I was pregnant because I got home from that trip and realized I was.
Oh, that's a beautiful story.
So
Isn't
yeah,
it
I mean,
great?
it's just important not to lose hope, I think, and to stay committed to the dream.
That's right, no matter what it is. I just love that. So wow, 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 wow. So I know I just have to ask this question.
Yeah.
About you must have had. I'm just saying maybe this is not. You must have had some pretty strong parents, mama,
Hmm.
that would encourage you and to do that. Could you talk about like that and how she's watched you? You don't know how she's watched you change, but I'm just sitting here. I have a daughter that's going to be 50 next year, and I've
Aw,
watched it. It's amazing watching the strength.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So,
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think my mom has definitely been my inspiration. So when I was younger, so I had really bad asthma as a kid. I still have asthma and I'm medicated for it. But my mom was a nurse and she did all of this research on asthma. So she got me into running and swimming and playing a wind instrument to increase my lung capacity. And so she wasn't, both of my parents were like, just because, and it was pretty severe. I was inpatient hospitalization at least 3 times a year. So like I was constantly doing my homework in a hospital bed. And it was not just your, like, we just go to the emergency room and then they discharge you and you're fine. But they to their credit, I mean, they would like take me to go play basketball and then sometimes have to rush me to the hospital afterwards. And like, but this is how I was able to, I believe, because they didn't see that as a limitation for me. And they kept encouraging me to stretch myself and put, in my body. And that had really helped for me to not be limited by it. And then my mom also, decided that she wanted to become an entrepreneur when um, she kind of wanted to take a break from nursing. So she opened this science and nature store in Oak Park for a while. And that was a super cool experience. And then the other thing about my mom was that I think it was before her 40th birthday, no, 50th, she wanted to run a marathon.
oh,
And so she did. And she was the one. I was like, if my mom can do this, I can do this. So she was the one who inspired me to start running marathons. So yeah, I would definitely say I was very, very lucky to have parents who encouraged me to, go beyond the limits of, what most people were saying. Because I remember there were some kids in my class who had asthma and they got passes to not participate in gym class and all kinds of things. And I was always like, wait, I'm the one who's always in the hospital, but I'm going. Like, why can't you go? So, I mean, I guess there are benefits and drawbacks to that because they will say I had to learn to listen to my body, which has been more of a adult learning, because I was so used to just pushing to the very brink, and I know that that doesn't serve my body, and it gets to a place where it's not as kind and compassionate as I can be to myself. So That's my curriculum around it, but I definitely think it's definitely served me for sure.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I had a mom and my dad. They were both school teachers, so there was no staying home if you were
Yep.
sick. You were there. Yeah.
Yep.
Isn't that funny? And I don't mean, yeah, it is kind of funny how that works because those traits that you just, talked about your mom, you're taking those traits and man, Liam, sorry. I just want to say that I saw a picture of you. I hope you don't mind if I,
Yeah.
of you and Liam doing yoga.
Yeah.
Now tell me about that because I think I was reading. I'm like, wow, that is a cool picture. And then it must have been. Just go ahead and tell me about that picture and what you guys were up to and what you're doing.
Well, we live in a duplex now, but when he was first born, we lived in a one floor place. And whenever I would do yoga or exercise, it would be kind of in his space because we were only on one floor and he always wanted to see what I was doing. And so I had my yoga mat. Just, I mean, back when he was 6 months old, he would crawl over and like be on the yoga mat, like right in my space. And then like put his head sideways or try to mirror what I was doing. And so I was like, oh, okay, so this is interesting. So I bought him his own yoga mat. And then I used to do these little like hit cardio workouts with like weights and stuff in my apartment. And he always wanted to hold the weight, but then I'm like, these are too heavy. So I got him little 1 pound weights. And so whenever, and it's funny, of course, he doesn't want his weights, he wants mine, and he doesn't want the yoga mat that I bought for him. He wants mine. So whenever our nanny is here, she's here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays. But if I leave the door open to my office and if I'm doing yoga or doing any sort of exercise, he always wants to come in and do it with me. And so he knows down dog and one-legged dog and some of the yoga poses, child's pose. He can do a somersault. Yeah. So he's a big fan of participating in yoga with mommy.
What a great role model. I used to tell parents like the only way to parent is to model.
Yeah.
And so congratulations on that. And that is an abundance lifestyle
Oh,
for
thanks.
him, for you, and what a blessing. What a blessing. So here's what if let's see, one more question is like what one tool would you love to give out? I think, oh yeah, we talked about that, like the breath and stuff. But if you can just
Mhm.
like zero in it and focus on one thing that you would love to put out to paradigm shifters when their paradigms are coming up about not having enough, not being enough. What is it? Something that you've like triggered that got you through?
Well, I just was reminded of this because I was listening to Bob Proctor teach on abundance over the weekend. Just briefly, I was doing these little like segments from YouTube, but one of the things that I was really struck by was he said something to the effect of, look around you, there's abundance everywhere. The leaves, the grass, in Chicago right now, it's a major rainstorm, rain, like, and then just the way and it wasn't something like I hadn't heard before, but I would just say, even in looking around in my environment, like the abundance of light, the abundance of, places to store things, obviously heat and air and gas and electricity. And so, I mean, I think it can be so easy to get so narrowly focused when you get stressed. And when I'm saying you, I mean me. So, um, but just really when we can start to practice, like look at all of the abundance that's here, and starting to train our minds to look for that. Because if you're anything like me, I was trained to think like, look at what's missing. And that is one of my old paradigms that I'm repatterning. But just, it's so true if you start to look for all of the abundance at present. I mean, even like there's water in my glass right here. You know, just the fact that there's so much. And it may sound simple, but I think when we actually zoom out and actually appreciate and look for all of the abundance that's present, it can be kind of, it's humbling, and it brings me back. So I think that was really powerful. And that would be one thing that I found so moving just recently as a reminder. So now I feel like I want to use it as a reminder since I have this opportunity for other people.
There you go. Wow, thank you so much. Well, one thing that I love to do is um, our paradigm shifters. We want to put a blessing on you,
Oh, thank
and
you.
a blessing that would come into the Chicago area, right? And you. And what is it right now that we can hold for you and your beautiful family, or you?
Mhm.
What would you love? What would you love, and anything at all? It's all yours.
Oh, thanks, Judy. Well, I'm training for a marathon. Well, the marathon that I'm training for is in November 13th. So that will be my 37th marathon. And right now my hip is a little injured, and we're on the road to recovery. So I would love for you to hold that I'm able to run that race and have fun in the race. And then also for the remainder of 2021, if I may, to serve at least 20 more clients this year. I just, as you know, this is such important work, and I just, I I've seen people blossom with this awareness, and I'm I would just love to be able to serve even more.
Oh, all right, you ready to receive?
Yes, thank you.
Here it comes. Okay, there you go. Whoosh. There you go. Got it?
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And we're totally holding. Wow. Can't wait to hear the results of your marathon.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. And I so appreciate you, Erica.
Oh, I so appreciate you for having me, and thanks for all the amazing work that you're doing in the world, Judy.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.